A model railway enthusiast had his ashes put inside a toy coal truck so he can enjoy his hobby from beyond the grave. Peter Hurst spent 40 years building up a collection of 40 locomotives in his attic, where he'd made a detailed miniature village with a functional railway from scratch. When he died aged 88 in January, his son Simon, 53, and Paul, 58, wanted to honor his lifelong passion, so they put his ashes into a model coal truck and occasionally go up into the attic to send his remains around the track. Simon said, "I thought it was a nice way of honoring him. We've been taking people up to see it." The family moved to the house in Leeds, Kent in 1972, and it took Mr Hurst another 3 or 4 years before he finished building his model railroad. It was inspired by the Great Western Railway, which Mr Hurst became familiar with while living as an evacuee in Wales. He married his wife Betty in 1956 and built a prototype of the tracks at the family home in Is. Before moving to Kent, where he had huge roof space at his disposal, the landscape was constructed with papier-mâché hillsides and sawdust, and Mr Hurst built a bridge for the trains to travel on. Some of the tracks were remnants from the first model railway Mr Hurst built, but even after the bulk of the work was completed by 1976, he carried on adding to it. The impressive structure eventually measured 28 feet long and 18 feet wide. The town was inhabited by around 60 tiny figurines who could drink in 4 miniature pubs and worship in 3 churches. There were 2 schools and 50 livestock were dotted around the countryside. There was a mini windmill that sat on the hills too. VAT Inspector Mr Hurst collected Hornby trains, some of which are now worth more than £500, and had 40 locomotives, including some which were more than 50 years old. The collection included 50 coaches, 50 trucks and 10 guard vans, as well as 8 parcel wagons and a crane train. His proud son added, "As children we respected it. Dad let us play with it, but we didn't mess around with it." One time of the trains came off the track and went into the water tank in the loft. Fortunately it wasn't damaged. Grandfather of 3 Mr Hurst, who died of dementia, loved to show children his amazing construction project. Simon's son, Harvey, now 28, was fascinated by it, and his favorite detail was the crane train, coinciding with the introduction of Harvey the Crane in the Thomas the Tank Engine series. "I think any children were blown away by it when they visited," Simon said.
Tell me where the freak's at.